My name's Gary Whittle. I'm a director of the Rugby League Museum, and today I'm interviewing New Zealand Rugby League Test referee number 38, Leon Williamson. Welcome along, Leon.
Thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Now, I'd like to start off, how did you get involved with rugby league?
Well, I was a young fella playing hockey, believe it or not. And then I went to college. I went to Selwyn College, and all the boys from down at Bastion Point were my mates, and we ended up playing junior footy for City Newton. So I played juniors in City Newton, and then moved away from there and went to the Mount Wellington Warriors and played senior football at the Mount Wellington Warriors. Open age restricted, so nothing too serious. I was a little bit too light. I was about 70 wet on a rainy day, so 70 kgs.
So how did that progress into joining your rugby league referees?
I played footy, and one day I refereed touch for New Zealand Touch Association, and I just come into that fold, and that's where I met Dave Bakido and Artie Clark. So when I was refereeing touch, I got to some good level in refereeing there, and Dave and Artie sort of hassled me for a bit. And then one day when I was doing a game out at Mount Wellington, referee didn't turn up. So my coach at the time, Joe Hobell, said, "You better get in there and referee because you used to blow the whistle." So that was my first game. I think it was Mount Wellington and Ponsonby, or Mount Wellington and Pickering, I can't remember. But so I did that game, and then after that, Dave and Artie sort of pressured me to get along to the referees meeting and give it a go. That was in 1996.
So this is your 30th year as a member of refereeing, isn't it?
Yep, your 30th season this season.
Yeah.
Still active. So,
So 2003, you got your first taste of international rugby league, the Women's World Cup at North Harbour. What do you remember about that, or the getting appointed to the games and actually being out there refereeing?
I don't remember a lot of it, to be honest. I remember the games being up there, and I got selected to go referee at the tournament. I think Ian McIntosh was running that tournament, and I just remember getting the grand final. At the time, they didn't recognise it as a test, so I didn't realise that was my test debut.
Debut, yes.
So, to be fair, I don't remember a lot of it. I remember some of the players. I think predominantly Nadine Collin was there. I think Michelle Driscoll, a couple of other ones for the Kiwis that were playing back then. So, if I remember right, New Zealand won.
Yep, they won the tour.
Yeah.
So 2003, so nothing much happened in 2007. You got your first international test match, New Zealand, Australia at Brisbane. What are your thoughts about being appointed to that game, the two top teams in the world?
Yeah, that was that had come off the back of a lot of work with Macca in 2000 and late 2005, beginning of 2006. Macca, we had a meeting and said, we need to get referees for New Zealand back on the international stage, and he wanted to back me and give me a go at trying to get there. So as a result of training with the NRL squad and the Super League squad, I was travelling up to England and doing games up there and doing with the NRL guys. I was going back every fortnight or so over to Australia, and then in between going up to England for 5 weeks at a time. That came as a selection from that, really, all the hard work that we'd done from that. The centenary test it was.
And in terms of that, you must have impressed, because you then did the second test in October, 6 months later, once again the Kiwis and the Kangaroos of Wellington.
Yeah, that was a different test. It was quite interesting for a number of reasons. The curtain raiser was a bit fiery, and of course we had Steve Matai send off in the return test at Wellington also. So Yeah, it was good to follow up and be involved in both tests and that. Really enjoyed it. Memorable moments, actually.
And then, of course, we move on. November 2007, you're in France.
Yeah.
Refereeing. What's your thoughts about your debut there, France versus PNG?
Yeah, that was, for me, that was a really good reward for hard work. I got the call up from the International Federation that I was doing the series over there in France with Papua New Guinea, in a country where they don't speak a lot of English, but they are quite passionate about their rugby league. And first game was in Avignon, so it was a tough game of footy. Not a bad crowd, and the game was pretty tough. Like you'd expect with the French and Papua New Guinea, they're as tough as nuggets. Those guys.
So you then did 2 tests. You did 3rd and 11th of November, and then 2008. You Sydney Cricket Ground. You were the test judge for the centenary test between the Kiwis and Kangaroos. What's your memory of that?
That was probably one of my highlights, being involved in that. Yeah. That was a great SCG. Yeah. You don't get to run on the SCG too often, so it was a great one. The obvious try there being awarded at the end, was pretty cool. Just the atmosphere was really, really good atmosphere. It was a full stadium. I really enjoyed that test. It was good. That was good to be involved in.
And then 2008 again, October, you ended up refereeing New Zealand All Goals and New Zealand Maori.
Yeah.
At Taranaki. How was that?
That was great. That was a game I'll never forget, because a number of reasons. There was a lot of great players that played in that game, and being an all golds team, that topped it off even better. Yeah. I think I was fortunate enough to award Ruben Wickie's last professional try in that game, which was good,
And then the week later, you actually ended up refereeing back up to Carwell Park, New Zealand Flame Tonga.
Yeah.
Different.
Yeah. Tough.
Yeah.
Tough game, tough test. It's quite different being able to referee your own country, because then, normally it would be neutral referees. So to get the nod to referee your own country was it was an honour to stand out there in the middle, representing your country, but also refereeing your country. So, and I managed to do that twice, so it was good.
Yeah, and that really has been part of the problem, I guess, where our referees today don't referee the Kiwis. Back in the earlier day, John Percival refereed every test, but that's another story. And then we move on to the World Cup a week later, and you're at Canberra refereeing Scotland and France.
Yeah, France again. That was an interesting test, because it was the first game that I had up in the World Cup, and it was a different pressure for some reason. It was being run by the NRL predominantly, and I'd sort of tried to establish myself as a New Zealand referee, but was trying to be pushed to be a referee that I didn't really gel with being. So the first 10 minutes, I remember that game, I was trying to do stuff that I would not normally do, and it didn't work for me. So I went back to refereeing how I referee, and the game flowed and ran fairly well after that.
So then you moved down to, Central Coast.
Yeah.
You had Scotland again, Fiji.
Yeah. I think, was that Fiji's first win at a World Cup, if I remember rightly?
I think it probably.
Yeah, I think it was their first win. Probably everyone remembers that game with Ian Henderson and Jason Baguli. Had a little bit of a touch-up in that game. It had been brewing for a while. Everyone knows Hendo can be pretty tough on the field when he was on the field, and rattle a few players, and just let it sort itself out. We didn't have any problems after that, but probably one of the most memorable parts of that game.
In terms of your refereeing, you certainly got around the Civic, and then we come to 2009, and you're actually refereeing Samoa and PNG at RPA Park. That must have been something else.
Oh, unbelievable. The crowd, the crowd in that game. I think it was the first time Samoa had hosted a test match in over 30 years. And I think they beat Papua New Guinea. Yes, they beat Papua New Guinea. So it was a really big occasion. The crowd was unbelievable. It was funny because after the game, all the balls went missing. And they said, oh, we can't find the balls. And we're like, oh, I had the ball that I walked off with, but the other balls had all gone missing. And we were driving down the road on the back of the old wagon, and here's one of the crowd walking down the road, flipping the ball. We managed to pull it. Hey, give us the ball back, it's got to go back, sort of thing, It was quite funny. And yeah, it was, that was a memorable test because of the Samoan people were very, very friendly. Their hospitality was really good, it was really, really good. I was training out, I stayed at, I think it was called Tusitala Hotel, and out the front on the waterfront, they had a grass reserve. And of course, I was out there running, doing grids and drills, doing my training during the week, and ended up having quite a lot of people being spectators under the trees, just watching. And the only word I could understand was parling, and I'm pretty sure they were saying, look at this stupid guy, It was blaring down heat, I was sweating like hell, but it was a very memorable tour that. I enjoyed it. I think I was over there for about 5 days for that.
So, you certainly know around the Pacific Islands, and later on that year, the Kiwis played, Tonga played Bala at Nuku'alofa Park in Tonga.
Yeah.
That would have been interesting.
That was like, I remember that game really because of two things. The toughness in the game was just unbelievable. I don't think Bala realised how tough Tonga were going to be. And we had some really hard knocks in the game. One guy had a head collision, and honestly, he got himself cut open on his forehead, and it looked like a meat pie. It was really, really bad. So after he got taken off. But the other one was there was a try disallowed for Tonga, and one of the Tongan players ran through. We had in-goal touch judges, and slapped the in-goal touch judge in the face for not allowing the try. It was clearly a knock-on. And I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do here? And of course I had to send him. But they didn't want me to send him, and they would say, oh, no, it's okay. I said, no, it's just unacceptable. But very memorable about that. I felt sorry for the in-goal touch judge because afterwards he was, quite physically worried about having to go home.
He'd have been a local touch judge.
He was a local touch judge, yeah. There was only myself, and it was all local match officials outside of that. So, but we had a problem getting over to Tonga. The plane got turned around, so I ended up getting in at like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. I'd been up all day, all night, and the test match was the next day, and I got in quite late. And by the time I got to my hotel, I think it was in some little part of the town, and they had a nightclub beside it. So I hadn't had any sleep because the planes in there, and they had this music blaring like hell over the whole night, right until 3 o'clock in the morning. And I thought, oh God, they're going home. And then at 3 o'clock when they went outside, they jumped in their cars and they had their loud speakers going out the front of cars playing music. So it went to about 5, 6 o'clock in the morning with this music going. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to be able to get into enough sleep for the game. But it turned out all right. So,
and then later on that year, New Zealand Tonga were Rotorua.
Yeah, that was a good game. Yeah, it was a good game, that one. I did that before I flew out.
Yeah, you went to Four Nations.
Yeah.
What I talked to you about, a Four Nations game, Ireland versus Serbia. What can you tell the viewers about?
Well, when I got the word that I was going up to England for the Four Nations, they said, we're going to give you a run-out game when you get up there. And I thought, myself and Adam Burns flew up for me because he was going to Four Nations from Christchurch. And we flew into England. We dropped our bags and they said, right, you got to go and jump on the plane. You're going to Ireland to do the Ireland versus Serbia game. And I was like, oh, Serbia, have they got a team? Oh, yep. So we flew out and went to the airport. We hadn't had much sleep because we'd been flying, 30-odd hours to get to England. And we got to the airport and we were flying on Ryanair, was the airline flight. And we're standing at the airport and we're seeing all these people. And I thought, we've got no seat number on our tickets, We're seeing all the people getting on the planes, and then we got, they'd started letting us on, and we got on a seat, and we were basically sitting up like this, flying over to Ireland. We got off the plane, we met our touch judge who was from the RFL. He goes, "Oh, did you not get on the plane early?" I went, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Oh, if your priority." I said, "What priority seats?" "Oh, it's on your ticket." And on the ticket it had priority, so you can get on and get one of the more comfortable seats. But we did the game. I thought there was about 80 in the crowd. It was in Tullamore.
I can tell you, smallest town it was in, and the crowd was a huge 295. But you did another funny game up there too. They then had you do Scotland play Lebanon at some place called Hughenden, wherever that is.
That was in Scotland.
Scotland,
yeah. That was Federations Cup. They were Federations Cup games. Yeah. There was pouring down with rain, typical Scotland. It was just absolutely bucketing down. I think Daryl Broman was there commentating up in the stand, and it was bucketing down with rain. I remember the Robinson brothers played for Lebanon. We got through the game, but oh my gosh, it was pretty cruddy conditions, I can tell you that.
There was another huge crowd there of 752, so you actually attracted some big crowds up there. So moving on, you refereed England and France and the Four Nations.
There was the opening Four Nations game. Yeah, Keepmoat Stadium. Yeah.
And then you had Australia-France.
Yeah, that was in France. Yeah. Stayed to France, was it?
And the final was Australia versus England, which you refereed in the Four Nations.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what was that through?
Overall tournament? Yeah. Yeah. It's that tournament we prepared very, very well for. Myself and Macca prepared very, very well for it. I was training a lot, training at nights, after the kids had gone to bed and all the work had been done, and I was going out and training at 10 o'clock at night just to, I knew that I had to be super fit to sort of put a little bit of emphasis on something different that I brought to the game. I wanted to stay no more than 10 metres away from the ball all the time. I needed to make sure that we went to that tournament and we had to be like on the button for every decision that was made. So really it was a lot of hard work from us, but that was the pinnacle of getting referees back into the international scene on a tier 1 status. We had to go there and perform. And the fortunate thing for me that went my way is it was neutral referees still under there. So all I had to do was perform. And if it went that it was an Australia-England game, my name needed to be at the forefront, which it did.
Which, unfortunately, these days, if it's England, Australia, England might be lucky to get the referee, but NRL will appoint. So that's been fun. So you do your last official test match, England versus France, June 2010.
Yep, that was my last official test. Well, it wasn't official at the time. I went up to England to do the test match again with France, and that was just to blow out the cobwebs. And Stuart Cummings and that, of course, was on the international panel. They wanted to make sure that I was still running on form, which he was very happy with. And then I came back to New Zealand, and that was where it was sort of ended, unfortunately, due to controls outside of what I could control.
And you're mentioning Pakiito before. I've got a reasonable list of referees who have refereed World Cup like yourself. There was Vic Belser was our very, very first referee, who was a Kiwi, and that refereed, and he refereed in the second World Cup in 1957. Then we had John Percival, Dennis Hale, Neville Kesher, Dave Pakiito, Bill Shrimpton, Henry Perenara was probably the last whether we class him as a New Zealand referee or Australian, that's always under debate. But he was there. And, of course, the last World Cup with Pucky Parkinson and Rochelle Cameron doing Tier 2. So we've had a reasonable amount of referees over the years of refereeing in the World Cup. Unfortunately, this year we won't get any doing Tier 1. That's a gimme now.
That's...
Don't get you started.
Yeah,
With it.
You know where I stand with it. Also, a lot of stuff was changed in 2010 that shouldn't have happened. Unfortunately, I don't want to say too much, but certain people signed certain things that shouldn't have been signed, and that's been the undoing of us, really. But not only us, but also France, Papua New Guinea, some of the other lower nations. They just can't get referees now.
What was interesting on the weekend in NRL, we had a Queensland referee refereeing NRL, which is most unusual. So maybe
no, there's been Queensland refereeing NRL.
Yeah, not many though, but not for a number of years.
Yeah.
Now, last thing before we go, your other love in life is what?
Apart from family?
Yeah.
Kickboxing and boxing? Yeah. Yeah, I'm quite heavily back into that. I've been doing that probably for about the last 7 years, back full on, doing it outside of refereeing. Now I'm at... I used to train under the tutelage of Lolo Himulia, of course, who's very well known and used throughout the New Zealand combat scene. And then I now I've gone, because I've moved down to the Waikato. I'm in Pocono. I'm joined up ranks with Hirama Clutchy out at Deep South, and we're training guys out there and going very successfully for a young gym, 3 years old. So it's going very, very well.
So what was your fighting weight? 70 Ks, was it?
61.9 I was fighting at, except for my last fight. I put a little bit of weight on my last fight. I was 78. 51 I had my last fight. So, it was, 7 years ago. I still think up here I can do it. I try and keep up with the young fellas at training and that, and hold my own. They call me OG, is my nickname at the gym. And but I love it. We're in Christchurch on the weekend. Took one of our young fellas down for the New Zealand title down there, and he managed to win, which was really good. So it's paying dividends. I like doing the tutorage and coaching. It's enjoying it.
And you've had a great career all around the world refereeing. Australia, France, Papua New Guinea, Samoa, Tonga, and unfortunately, our referees of today are never ever going to see that. Unfortunately, and you were just in that right time where they were doing the games and still appointing neutral refs, and you got there.
Yeah,
it's just sad that it's not going to happen again. So yeah,
I believe it could happen, but it would have to take somebody to stand quite strong and back our referees, quite strong. But I do believe it could happen again, and I do believe that we need to open channels back with the Super League, because we can't concentrate on just putting our eggs into one basket. We need to spread our tentacles around the world so we get that exposure, and hopefully can get our referees back onto the ranks. We've proven we can do it. We don't have to be full-time. We've proven we can do it. But like I said, we need someone to back our referees to do it.
All right. Viewers, that's the interview with New Zealand Rugby League Test referee number 38, Leon Williamson. Thank you for coming in today, Leon. Very, very enjoyable and very, very informative.
Thanks, Gary.
Cheers.